My name is Doug Cogswell. I'm the President and CEO of Advisor Solutions. We're a data analytics software and services company that does a ton of work in not-for-profit fundraising in higher ed, healthcare, and not-for-profits. I'm going to spend a few minutes today talking about using data analytics to segment your prospects. So let's get started.
Okay, so here's the deal. You've got a population of people. Let's represent it by a circle, kind of a circle. And the idea here is you're trying to figure out who are the best prospects to solicit. And one dimension is capacity. And let's say we have capacity running from low to high. And that could be determined by wealth screens using information from wealthy zip codes or whatever. And so you have some higher capacity prospects and some lower capacity prospects. Another dimension would be how engaged are the people in your operation, be it a higher education or a healthcare or a not-for-profit. So let's try to, how would we figure that out? Well, one way would be to do some modeling and create some segmentation. So one concept is the base population. In any model, you need to have a base population that is what you're going to compare a target to. So in this case, if we're trying to find the best prospects, the base population should probably be people who have capacity. So this group over here, they have more capacity than the group over there. So then what you want to do is differentiate the people who have the capacity who have given from the people who have the capacity and haven't given. So let's say in this population, here are people, these dots, that have given at or above their capacity. And so in a modeling exercise, you would select the target and then you would compare it to the base. And then the modeling is going to figure out what makes the target different than everybody else in the base. And that dimension is going to become, let's say, attachment. And that's going to run from high to low. Some people are going to be more engaged and more attached, some less. And the factors, the next thing is explanatory factors that go into the model. There's a bunch of stuff in your data that's going to indicate how engaged or how attached somebody is. And they're going to be things like numbers of events attended in the last 2 years, numbers of committees they participated on in the last 5 years, numbers of gifts the last 5 years. So the number of years they made a gift in the last 5 years, maybe the number gifts 6 to 10 years, maybe number of reunions attended if you're higher ed. If you're healthcare, there's going to be another set of things. There's going to be what we call patient potential. And that's going to be, so this is like an advancement attachment. And then there's patient potential, which are going to be things like how many encounters have there been, numbers of encounters last 2 years, area of last visit. There's a set of this stuff that's in your data that can be created into these explanatory factors and turned into a model that then scores the entire population from high to low attachment. So now you have basically a segmentation structure here with this population. And what you want to do is this quadrant up here, call it quadrant A, are the people who have high capacity and are highly engaged. They're your best prospects to make a major gift. This group down here are highly engaged, not engaged, but have high capacity, so the goal would be to cultivate them. Figure out which of these factors they haven't done well on. Maybe they haven't been to events, but they've been making gifts. Let's get them to some events and try to move them up into quadrant A. So quadrant B are the people that you really want to cultivate and move up. Over here, you have lower capacity, but they're highly engaged. This quadrant, call it quadrant C, will be prime annual giving prospects because they have all the characteristics, but they don't have the capacity. And this quadrant is sort of more of a question mark, low capacity and less engaged. And the last dimension you want to look at is interest. So interest is the third dimension. And you can take the data, maybe it's reunion surveys, or maybe it's which kinds of articles they're clicking on the newsletters, and segment it into maybe they're interested in athletics. Or maybe they're always clicking on the science articles. Or maybe they're always clicking on the social justice work that you're doing. So now you have a segmentation structure with these quadrants and also the interest areas, which now helps you with the messaging. So let's jump into the software and take a look at how you do this.
So here's an example of an advisor project, which has loaded 93,743 entities or prospects out of a CRM system. We also have loaded tables for gifts, activities, student sports, reunions, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to spend just a couple minutes and build an attachment model and then bin people into owners, highly engaged, disconnected, detached to do the segmentation work we talked about. So first thing I have to do is set my base population. So I'm going to use this capacity rating filter here to grab everybody between $100,000 and all the way up to 50 million or more. So I'm going to uncheck this one, and this one. So we've got now 26,230 people who have a capacity to give 100,000 or more. Next question is, we need the target population would be over here, these bars, the people that actually have given 100,000 or more. So I'm going to sweep over them. That gives me 1,370 people, which is, that needs to be, the target needs to be at least 0.5% of the base, which we clearly are covered here. That's good, the ratios are good. Now let's build the model. So I'm going to go up here to model. I'm going to just click this, and I'm going to click on new model. I'm going to call this attachment. And I'm going to put it on a table so you can model against different tables. We're going to put on the entity table where the explanatory factors are and the people are. Two kinds of models, a linear regression where you're forecasting an amount. Here we're trying to forecast set membership. We want to see the characteristics of the people who are in the target and compare them with the base. So I'm going to use that. So now I'm in a classification model mode, which is better for this kind of data. And up top, we've calculated a whole set of factors. These are explanatory factors that are people expressing interest in your organization. We talked about them earlier. Numbers of committees they've been on the last 10 years, numbers of gifts or years of gifts they've made out of the last 5. It's going to be a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numbers of years 6 to 10. Let's get that one. Reunions, sports they played, student activities, and we could keep going, but let's quickly just grab those. I click train model. It's going to run through, and this works pretty quick. Got a pretty good concordance over here, and it tells me that committee participation in the last 10 years explains about 55% of the overall, or 64% of the overall behavior of the target. Reunion attendance comes in second, and student activities third. And there's some math over here. This is a very simple model, obviously, because I just clicked a few factors, but it's going to be indicative. It gave me a range score from 0 to 1 and then binned it into 5 groups. So now let's use this. I'm going to go to the next page, the prospect list page. And let's get rid of this panel, and let's bring all of my data back. And here's my 26,230 people that are rated 100,000 or more. Let's say I want to grab the 500,000 or up. I sweep over them. There's clearly going to be that top right A quadrant. Get rid of everybody else. Here's my attachment scores we just calculated. Let's grab the engaged, highly engaged owners. Get rid of everybody else. That's 2,578 people. Most of them are staff, over 2,000 of them. But here's a group of 500 who aren't staffed. I click that. Get rid of everybody else. And now I have a list of the unstaffed quadrant A people. So I've just used the math to create some segments. I've used the segments to find a key pool of people. And in here I have a bunch of data on them. It could be anything from the system, where they live, do we have employment, what are their jobs if we have it. It can go way over on the right with all kinds of factors. Now I have my list to continue forward on. So one last thing before I close is these cross-table factors can be calculated in a database that can be kind of hard, requires SQL skills, or they can be calculated in a front-end discovery tool like ours. In our case, you just go up here and put in author mode, click on this thing, which is build expressions. We load data, design pages, pick charts, condition data. You get this panel. Entity table, bunch of tables I can work from. So this tells me for numbers of student activities, I want to link on the ID number in the entity table to the ID number in the student activities table, stick a 1 in each row and sum it and bring it back as a number, an integer with no decimals. That's literally how easy it is to create these cross-table calculations, which is a key part of modeling. Our whole mission is to make models easy for teams to do so they can use it quickly and just deploy into their meetings and make a difference. Any questions? We've got a bunch of other resources up on our website, tutorials, and here's my contact information. Feel free to contact me. Thanks for your time.